Hi friends, my name is Nataraj, working for Naresh IT. In this video, I am going to talk about a small story or small history related to Spring evaluation. That means how Spring is evolved to the market, why Spring has come, before arrival of Spring what industry used to do, and with the arrival of Spring what is the benefit we got, in what way it has dominated EasyAB. I'm going to talk all this discussion in this particular video. Quite useful video, especially when senior project managers who are working for the company from last 20-25 years, so generally they raise this kind of question. Now you are talking about Spring, tell me what you have done before arrival of this Spring. So in that situation, you may talk about the story which I am going to talk in today's class. So before getting into the actual discussion, I would like to talk some terminologies which I am going to use in this discussion. So the terminologies are middleware services. Some part of industry also calls them as secondary logics. Some part of industry also calls them as aspects. So let us try to understand what these are basically. The additional services that can be applied on the applications to make our application more perfect and accurate are called middleware services. They are not minimum logics of application development. Even though those logics are not there, our application happily survives. But if those logics are there, our application becomes more accurate and perfect. They are called middleware services or secondary logics or aspects. I'll show you one small example, security. What is this? What is the first example? Security. It protects the application. It allows only authorized users, authenticated users to access the application. Even though security is not there, application happily survives. Application happily executes. But when security is applied, our application becomes more perfect and accurate. Without security also application can be there. But when security is applied, our application becomes more perfect and accurate. So that's why it is called what? Middleware service. For example, primary logic, secondary logic. Primary logic means important logics of the application. If those logics are not there, our task will not be completed, our application will not be completed. That is primary logic. Which kind of logics? Withdraw logic, deposit logic, transfer money logics, okay, logging to account. This kind of logics are called what? Primary logics. Secondary logics. If those logics are there, fine and nice. If not there, then also no problem. Such logics are called secondary logic. Security is a secondary logic. On withdraw logic, if you apply security, fine. Only authorized people will come and do withdraw operation. If not applied also no problem, but withdraw work will be done. Such logics are called secondary logics. What logics are? Secondary logics. So today I am going to talk about what these middleware services are. Not only security, okay, we have other middleware services like transaction management. On sensitive logics of the application like transfer money, it applies do everything or nothing principle. What here? Do everything or nothing principle. If done, everything should be done. If otherwise, nothing should be done. For example, transfer money operation is the combination of how many operations? Two operations. Withdraw amount from source account, deposit amount into destination account. If completed, both should be completed. If one operation fails, other operation also should be failed. If one operation fails, other operation. It's better to execute both logics by applying what? Do everything or nothing principle or not. What principle here? Do everything or what? Nothing principle. That comes under transaction management. The process of combining related logics into one unit and executing them by applying what? Do everything or nothing principle is called as what? Transaction management. Listen, we have a task called transfer money. Without transaction management also task completes. But when you apply transaction management support, our application becomes what? More perfect. In all situation, it gives the guarantee transfer money happens nicely. So it is a primary logic, a secondary logic. Transfer money logic is primary logic, and transaction management additional service comes under what? Secondary logic. Next, logging. Logging keeps track of application flow of execution. In given moment, which method execute, which class executed, which block is executed. So we'll get the flow of execution. It is very useful for debugging the code here. It is very useful to fix the problems. And generally, we write some SOP statement. That is also some kind of logging bus. But in real-time practices, people use some third-party APIs for logging, like Log4j, SL4j. So this kind of third-party APIs will be used a lot. This kind of third-party APIs will be used a lot for logging activities. So next one, auditing. Like this, lot of secondary logics are there here. Auditing is extension of logging here. Logging keeps track of flow of execution. Which method, which block, which component, which module, which application is executed in the flow. As part of application execution will be kept tracked by logging. When it comes to auditing, it will keep track of activities of the user. It never talks in terms of technical flow of execution. It will talk in terms of activities of the user in the application. Something like manager logged in, manager sanctioned permission for some loan, manager rejected the loan, manager accepted the proposal, manager logged out, manager approved so and so transaction. These are called activities. Auditing keeps track of activities of the end user who is operating our application. Like this, lot of services are there. So just remember this knowledge in mind, because I am going to use this services knowledge while explaining as part of how Spring is evaluated. Okay, let's try to understand a brief story related to before arrival of this string. How the situation was and how the things were. So I think in the year 1995, Java is released. Along with the Java, applets are released, and those applets are used for gaming activities. Purely for what? Gaming activities. Then people said that Java means games can be developed. But Sun Microsystem decided to prove Java is not only for games, Java can be used in multiple places. That's why in the year 1996, people started using Java classes plus Java beans. Okay, don't give much importance to here. Okay, Java classes plus Java beans to develop what? Business logics. Also called as what? Service logics. The main logics of the applications are called business logics. They are also called service logic. For example, you take a student progress report application, calculating total, calculating average, generating rank for the student comes under what? Business logic. So people have taken the support of regular Java classes and Java beans to develop business logics or what? Service logics. What do you mean by Java bean? Java bean is a Java class that is developed with what? Standards. It's like another Java class, but we follow some standards while developing the class. I'm not talking about coding standards. I'm talking about development standards. Like class should be public, should implement serializable interface, variable should be private, non-static. Every variable should have, variable means property, bean property. Getter and setter method, directly, indirectly, zero param constructor should be there. Like this, some standards are there. We follow some standards while developing Java class, and that class is called Java bean. So people have taken Java class as main classes and Java bean as helper classes to pass data between Java classes, especially huge amount of data. And in that process, yes, they developed business logic in the year 1996. The problem with this approach is, there are some limitation when you develop business logics. When you develop business logic by using what? Java class and Java beans, there are some limitations. Limitation number one, we cannot apply middleware services. Because by using ordinary Java class and Java beans, there is no question of developing middleware services and there is no possibility of applying middleware services. Fine. Next, allows only local clients. Allows only what? Local clients. Clients are two types here, local client, remote client. I have an application in one machine running in a JVM. Client is also there in the same JVM and talking to application, local client. Client is there in another JVM of same computer, another JVM of different computer, and this different computer may be there in the same LAN network or remote LAN network. Such a client is called remote client. Remote means far distance. But here, where I am developing business logics are ordinary classes, normal classes, not implementing any special interfaces, not developed through any special technologies. So that's why they don't allow remote clients, unfortunately. They allow only local clients. Local client and its application resides in same JVM, but remote client and application can be there in two different JVMs of same computer, two different computers of same network or different networks. That's a beautiful thing when application allows remote clients. But here the classes are developed using what? As in a regular manner, as ordinary classes. That's why there is no provision of allowing what? Remote clients. Fine. So that's why by keeping these problems in mind, in the year 1998, a big technology has come into the market, that is EaseAB. That is what? EaseAB. EaseAB speaks about enterprise Java beans. Okay. So this is also given to develop what? Business logics, also called as service logics. Yes, there are certain advantages here. Advantages. Most interestingly, allows both local and remote clients. Allows both local and remote clients. Whatever logic that is there in EaseAB component basically is a remote distributed component. Basically, it's a distributed component. It allows local client. It also allows remote clients. So whatever problem we got with the regular classes, that problem got solved. Because EaseAB internal uses RMI, and RMI has got one special interface called java.rmi.remote. So when classes implement java.rmi.remote interface directly or indirectly, so automatically objects of those classes starts allowing local clients and remote clients. More importantly, they allow remote clients. So don't think that EaseAB is doing that magic, but internally EaseAB uses RMI, and RMI is having one special marker interface called what? Java.rmi.remote. Because of that interface implementation that is happening on our classes, directly or indirectly, that are developed through EaseAB, we are able to achieve that feature. Really, we are able to achieve that feature. Because of that reason, definitely I can say it is allowing what? Remote clients. Next, allows to enable or disable middleware services. Allows to enable or disable. Basically, we can apply middleware services, whatever I talked. More interestingly, whenever you want, we can enable, whenever you want, we can disable. Sir, why you enable, why you disable? Sometimes it happens. For example, RBI asked, while depositing money, don't enable security, while withdrawing money, enabling security. Banks also convinced, because anyone can deposit, why people will deposit unnecessarily? No security is required towards depositing money. But withdraw, because proper person should be verified, account authenticity will be verified, authorization should be verified while withdrawing money. Banks also convinced they have developed logic like that. But later RBI realized in the poor people account, okay, to suffer them or to attract them or to direct them towards the terrorist activities. Some unknown people are depositing money into the poor people's account, young youth accounts, okay, by showing the God as the name and other names. Then RBI strictly said that, okay, while depositing money also you have to keep the track of what? The person who is depositing. Otherwise what happens? Like ISIS kind of organization, they catch one poor young guy, okay. So in his account they deposit money and they will say, okay, to help you God is depositing money, and in that process he will be attracted towards what? ISIS, and he may become terrorist kind of thing. So that's why RBI clearly said that no, this time you have to even enable what? Security, and you have to check identity of a person who is depositing money into any account. Then definitely security should be enabled on deposit activity also, no doubt in that. So that means there are some situations where RBI gives guidelines to enable, RBI gives guidelines to disable. Without disturbing existing code, we should be in a position to enable or disable. Luckily, EasyB is having that provision. That's a really good news. C. Gives built-in middleware services. Gives built-in middleware services. Also allows to use third-party or server managed middleware services. Third party or server managed middleware services. Third party means not given by Sun Microsystem or Oracle Corporation, given by someone else like Apache company, XYZ companies. Server managed, because EasyB applications run in application server. EasyB components execute in EasyB container, and EasyB container is part of application server software. And you know that application server software provides some middleware services. Yes, EasyB can use built-in middleware services. If they are not sufficient, it can use server managed middleware services. If they are also not sufficient, it can use third-party supplied middleware services. All these are what? Advantages. But there are some disadvantages also. There are some disadvantages. EasyB components are heavyweight. EasyB components are what? Heavyweight, really heavyweight. They're big in size, they need more memory, they need more CPU time. To execute EasyB component, we need EasyB container. EasyB container won't come alone. It comes along with application server software. Application server softwares are heavy software. They need more memory. They need more CPU time towards execution. Best example is WebLogic and WebSphere. Because they're really heavy, boss. Next. EasyB components are complex to develop and use. There were days in my career, I have seen entire company praising a developer who got EasyB. Entire company is looking at him as a great fellow because he is working on EasyB. Some kind of God treatment is given to that fellow. Because learning EasyB is not that much easy, and using EasyB for real-time projects is not that much easy. So it's a bit complex, and it's not everyone's cup of tea. So some maturity is required, some analyzation is required, some talent is required in order to understand EasyB, in order to use EasyB in the project development. Next, heavyweight servers and containers are required. Containers are required to run EasyB components. Just now I said EasyB component executes in EasyB container, heavyweight container. EasyB container is part of application server called WebLogic, or part of application server called WebSphere. So both these are what? Quite heavy things. And you don't believe, people have bared this complexity of EasyAB, heaviness of EasyAB only for the sake of middleware services. Before arrival of EasyAB, RMI was there. RMI is great. It allows remote clients. But the problem with RMI is what? The problem with RMI is very simple and straightforward. It does not give middleware services. Before RMI, we used to do all the things with the Java class and Java bin, no middleware services. But EasyAB is one thing where middleware services are there. And I have seen, though there is no need of EasyAB heaviness, though there is no need of EasyAB complexity, all banking projects have used EasyAB from the year 1999 to 2004, 2005, some period of 2005 also, they bared EasyAB complexity. Okay, only for the sake of what? A middleware service called transaction management. Not even for security and other middleware services. Only for the sake of transaction management. I have seen companies, I personally experienced companies using what? EasyAB for the middleware service called transaction management. Because in banking industry, towards various banking transaction like a transfer money, withdraw, deposit and other activities, transaction management very important. Though we don't need remote clients, people have used EasyAB to develop the logics allowing remote clients and local client. Though we don't need remote client, they used EasyAB only for the sake of utilizing what? A middleware service called transaction management. So that is the problem that is there with EasyAB here. So that's why, no, it went well, really went well. It's not like that people have not used EasyAB. From 1999 to 2004, 2005, up to that time, people blindly used EasyAB in the banking projects and insurance projects and financial service projects. Though people knows there is what? There is a heaviness with EasyAB. Because that time they don't have any alternate in the market for EasyAB, especially to develop these banking and insurance sector projects. That's why I want to share one incident which I know at this time, at that particular time period. I think EasyAB 1.x is fine. Okay. After that EasyAB 2.x has come. People have used EasyAB 2.x. So Sun Microsystem prepared one team kind of thing, formed one team kind of thing to create EasyAB 3.x specification. As part of that specification, Mr. Rod Johnson was the member. I will tell who is this Mr. Rod Johnson. I will come to him in a minute. They formed and done some discussion to create EasyAB 3.x specification. EasyAB 3.x specification. And every time this Mr. Rod Johnson used to fight with other members. We are making EasyAB complex. We are making EasyAB complex. 1.x was complex. 2.x is complex. Heavyweight also. And 3.x also we are making very complex. This is not the way in EasyAB. This is not the way that is going to work out in future. No one is bothered about his statement. So one fine day he came out of the designing the team and he has written a book called J2EE without EasyAB. In that book he said don't use EasyAB, use only J2EE technologies. But no one has cared his ideas. Somehow EasyAB 3 also released having same heaviness. Okay, so but in that process, this Mr. Rod Johnson, okay, taken support of some members and formed a company called Interface 21. What is the company name? Interface 21. I think around 2003 and 2004, he created a framework called Spring Framework. He created a framework called what? Spring Framework. Initially, people used Spring Framework to develop the business logics. Later, people started using Spring to develop all kinds of logics. So that's why I don't want to say Spring is there only for business logic development. Using Spring, we can develop presentation logic, business logic, in fact, persistence logic, integration logic, validations logic, X, Y, Z. Anything we can develop by using Spring. But initial motivation of launching Spring is they used it for business logic as alternate to EasyAB, okay, and to take the advantage of middleware services. So if I look at the advantages, lightweight, Framework is lightweight, application development is lightweight, and supports ordinary classes, ordinary interface based programming, POSI model programming, supports ordinary classes, ordinary interface based programming. That means POSO and POSI model programming. That means we can develop entire logics in Spring with the support of ordinary classes and interfaces. Next, allows to enable or disable middleware services. Super, same as EasyAB kind of thing. Gives built-in middleware services. Gives built-in middleware services and allows to use third party or server managed middleware services, no doubt in that. So whatever facilities that are there in EasyAB, that is there. But at the same time, we can do the things with ordinary class and interfaces, lightweight. No need of having heavyweight containers like EasyAB container, application server to run the code. At the same time, no compromise in middleware services. So that's why people started migrating to Spring by leaving EasyAB. Because whatever they want, they are getting, that too in lightweight environment. And without bearing complexity of EasyAB, with ordinary classes only they can work with middleware services. When this beautiful opportunity is there, why they will bear with, why they still bear EasyAB kind of heaviness. Initially they used Spring only for business logic, but now they are using Spring for all the things. So like this, Spring is evaluated in the market, initially as alternate to EasyAB, but now it is there to develop all kinds of logics, all kinds of application, because it provides abstraction layer on multiple technologies and some multiple frameworks also it provides abstraction layer and simplifies the application development process. I think you got basic idea. The intention of this video is very simple. Before Spring, what people have done and why people have moved to Spring. Because if you talk to any old people, they used to say after arrival of Spring, EasyAB is outdated. But if you talk to some 3-4 years experienced guy, after arrival of Spring, Struts is outdated. And if you talk to some other senior developer, after arrival of Spring, JDW technology utilization is reduced. What's actually thing? So basically launched with the intention of solving the problems of EasyAB. But later it has become single point solution for various things that are already there in the market. In fact, it has dominated Struts kind of framework. It has dominated and simplified JDW technology based application development. So that's why we generally say Spring is a ocean, because it provides single point solution for multiple problems. And it allows to develop multiple kinds of logics. It allows to develop different types of applications. If someone says, is the Spring alternate to EasyAB? In a way I say yes, in a way I say no. Because EasyAB is just there to develop business logic, but Spring can be used to develop all kinds of logic. That's why I don't feel comfortable comparing my Spring with a small thing called EasyAB. If someone asks, is Spring alternate to Struts? Again, in a way I say yes, in a way I say no. In a way yes, because Spring MVC has come, which is a part of Spring framework, Spring MVC is a sub-framework of Spring, and it has completely dominated Struts. Yes, that's why in a way yes. In a way no, because Spring is definitely not comparable with a small framework called Struts. Because Struts can be used only to develop web application. Spring can be used to develop n number of applications. If someone asks the question, is Spring alternate to JDW technologies? I say no. Spring in fact complements JDW technologies. Why? Because Spring internally uses lot of JSC technologies like JDBC, JNDI. In fact, RMI also. Lot of JWE technologies like Servlet, JSP, EasyAB, JMS kind of thing, and simplifies the application development process. So instead of saying Spring is alternate to JWE technology, better to feel Spring provides Spring provides abstraction layer on these technologies and simplifies application development. Alternate means replacement. When Spring comes, they should go out of market, but they have not got out of market, and they will not go also. Why? Because Spring still is internally using those technologies. So that's better to say Spring complements JWE technologies, and Spring is more powerful than EasyAB, and Spring is more powerful than what? Struts. So I hope you benefited with this video, because the intention of this video is not to give technical story about the Spring, because I just want to talk how Spring is evaluated in the market, on what reason, on what point this is being introduced to the market. So anyhow, we have to say thanks to Mr. Rod Johnson. Though he deviated from EasyAB 3.x specification designing, but he never discouraged himself, and he has come up with a superb framework called what? Spring, and which has become single point solution for all the problems. Fine. So have a nice time. You can catch me in this Naresh IT YouTube channel for more videos. If you got any queries, you can mail me to this email ID.